Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever, wherever you may be in which part of the world. It's very nice to have you with us. It's This Week in WordPress. We're on episode number, 277. And we're joined by two fine gentlemen today. It should have been three, but I'll tell you more about that in a moment. First up on my, over there, I don't know if it's on my left or right. I can't quite work that out. It's Remkus de Vries. How are you doing, Remkus?
Good. Very good, Nathan. How are you?
Yeah, good. Remkus has got a fabulous new camera look. Look at the quality of Remkus's picture. If you're listening to the audio, it's really good.
It scares even me.
Yeah, you get to see the full.
I know.
Detail.
Don't go there.
Remkus joins us. He's quite often on the show, and it's very nice to have him back. Remkus is a WordPress veteran and a performance specialist at Truer Than North. That's all I've got on you. Is there anything else you want to add, or is that it?
No, not for today.
That'll do. Next week.
If you want to know more, just Google me.
Okay. Yeah. You have one of those Googleable names, don't you? I'm quite lucky in that I have the same. Basically, if you Google me, you get this model, which isn't me, by the way, and then me, just because Nathan Wrigley's pretty unusual. Remkus de Vries probably the same.
No, there's only one. There's literally only one in the world.
That's so good. That's great for domain names and everything.
I know.
You've read not John Smith. And we're also joined by Maciek. How are you, Maciek?
I'm great. I'm really great.
It's very nice to have you. Maciek's been on many times as well, and it's lovely to have familiar faces. I really like that. We're going to talk a bit later, but before then, Maciek is a WordPress developer working as a as a development advocate analyst at Kinsta. After hours that he spends most of the time trying to find interesting news for WP Owls, the WP Owls newsletter, or he goes cycling. You got to tell us about the new job at Kinsta, Maciek. I think last time you were on, you weren't at Kinsta, although it felt like you were about to be at Kinsta. Just a couple of weeks later. How's the new job?
I was almost at Kinsta, and right now I just finished the onboarding. It was amazing, and I think that it will be my dream job.
Oh, nice! That's great. The onboarding was that good. Well, that's absolutely lovely. Well done. And I'm really pleased that it's working out for you. If you're joining us in the chat, I appreciate that. Please feel free to drop in any comments that you like. We try to get as many of them on the screen as we can if they're on message. But in order to do that, you need to be in probably one of two locations. This one is the easiest one. If you go to wpbuilds.com/live, then you can comment there. But you need to be logged into a Google account because it's YouTube. wpbuilds.com/live. On the other hand, you might be looking at this in Facebook, and if that's the case, you've got one additional step to do because Facebook don't allow us to see your your avatar and your name. So you've got to go to chat.restream.io/FB and authorize Facebook. But yeah, go and share it. Maybe step away from this screen, go and share it with your friends and drag some people in. That would be really nice. And I've got a few comments, as we always do. Alex, thank you for joining us, Alex. Alex McNeil. I'm not sure that I've come across Alex before. He's got a picture of what looks like Stonehenge on there. So hello, Alex. Nice to have you. And we've also got Rob Cairns. Hello, WordPress peeps. He joins us every single week. He's one of our absolute regulars. And he's saying that Remkus is looking amazing. Movies. No.
He's not
Rob,
lying.
No, that wasn't the point I was making. I was saying that Remkus had a nice camera, not that Remkus...
But he picked on what you really wanted to say.
Oh, I was trying to get in
Thanks,
there.
Rob. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Rob, good. Kudos to Rob. Another greeting from, I think, Remkus, you're going to have to say that word.
So that's the Dutch name of the city I live in. It is Leeuwarden.
Oh, is that you?
It's not me, but this is where I am, yes.
Oh, that's weird. Somebody else is also coming in from Leeuwarden in the Netherlands. Very nice to have you. Marcus Bennett joining us from GoDaddy. Good morning, happy Monday in the WordPress world. Yeah, I guess in North America, we are basically the beginning of the WordPress week, aren't we? Which is kind of strange to think about. Hello, everyone, says Maya. Paul Lacey. I don't even know. I don't even know if I can tolerate putting that. Everybody knows.
You should definitely say Rob's last comment.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, thank you, Paul. Of course, I love you being here. And Rob is saying, "Hey, Mike, yay, Paul, the traitor, forever to be known as the traitor." If you don't know, Paul used to do the show. He probably did like 150 episodes with me, and we parted on very good terms, but it just became a joke that I called him a traitor every time. So that's what we do, and he's giggling about it just there. And we've got Marcel Boatsman joining us as well. Maybe Marcel's the person with the Dutch name. I don't know, the Dutch town. And we've got Max also. Thank you. God, these comments just keep coming. Keep it going, Rob, says Paul. Over 1 year and the traitor joke's still going. Yeah, I know. It's never going to end, Paul. And Ben, all the way from the Philippines. Ben Intel. We're going to be talking about Stackable a bit later, albeit briefly, Ben. Putting the kids to sleep, 9 p.m. over here. Okay, thank you, everybody that's joined us. What a nice collection of individuals we've got. Feel free to share it. Right, I'm going to stick the screen on. I've got a few promotional bits. I do apologize. You're going to have to bear with me for about the next minute because I'm going to mention WP Builds a few times. First thing to say, there's our website. We're sponsored by GoDaddy Pro, and we thank them very, very much for their support of the WP Builds podcast. Really appreciate it. They've been supporting us for months and months and months now, and I'm very, very happy that they are. No, I don't want to go there just yet. Here's the next thing. The WP Awards, which we'll mention later, came out a few weeks ago. And last year, as a bit of a joke, I set up a rival awards system called the WP Builds WordPress Awards 2022. Now, it's not really an award because you don't get anything. But the thing is, if you spend $20 hard-earned dollars and donate those dollars to Big Orange Heart, who are behind WordFest, which we'll come up against later, and then send that to me, I will stick you in a category of your own, which you will win. So if you send me the receipt for your $20 donation to Big Orange Heart, I will put you on this, and you are guaranteed to win. So far, 4 entries. Me, the WP Builds podcast, is under the category of Best Podcast called WP Builds. We're going to totally win that. The best podcaster who talks, S**T and owns a shed, that's Arthur Crap. That's a bit of a nod to a podcast that I do with Bob Dunn. Best WordPress platform beginning with WS. That's probably going to be won by WS Form. And we've got Best WordPress CRM named after Groundhog Day. Well, guess what? That's going to be Groundhog CRM. The point here is it's just a bit of a laugh. Last year we did this, and according to Michelle Frechette, we raised over $1,000 for Big Orange Heart by doing this silliness. So go on. Get $20, stick it on the counter, give it to Big Orange Heart, put yourself on this form, and enter the silliness. You are guaranteed to win, and you've got 37 more days in which to do it. Right, you two fine folk, what would you nominate, and would it be yourself, or would you be nominating somebody else? Because you're allowed to do that. Firstly, Remkus, what would you go for? Can I suggest best new camera owner? Yeah,
I would still go about the best new jacket. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
The jacket, yes.
Yeah. Remkus is sporting a very fine new jacket, which we're all jealous of. Yeah. Okay. Best new jacket. Okay.
Best new jacket. Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll take that. Let's not add to it. This is good.
Yeah. What about you, Maciek? What would you best new Kinster employee possibly?
I was more thinking about the best newsletter with a bird in its name or something like this.
I like it. Yeah. Okay.
But
yeah.
I can spend $40 and go for.
You can win twice. That's right.
Twice,
I love it. Yeah.
Does Joost de Valk have a newsletter then?
What? Hang on. What? Oh, does Volk mean like eagle or something like that? Falcon. Oh. Get it.
So a nightbird with a nightbird in its name.
A nightbird.
We will make it a bit better.
It.
We'll make it better. So
I'm just going to say specificity matters, man.
Does Yoast's name literally translate? So I don't know what Yoast means, but let's just say Yoast's name translates to Joost the Falcon.
So That is most certainly a translation. I don't know if it's if the origin is of a different kind, but it's most certainly literal translation is the falcon. Yes,
That's
as
cool.
as mine is the Frisian, his is the falcon.
So yours is like to do with cows, and his.
No,
I think.
hold on. Region. The
Oh, I
cows
thought
are
you
from
said
the same
Frisian.
region.
Okay.
Yes.
That just sounds like a superstar name, though, doesn't it? Yost the Falcon. It sounds like something out of Iron Man or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Marcel just commented and saying could be a boat too, but the boat is reference to the falcon itself, the bird.
Okay.
So.
Well, there we go. Look, you see what happens when you get derailed by a silly survey like we're carrying out here. Anyway, the point is we're trying to raise money for a good cause, Big Orange Heart, $20 a shot. It's just a bit of fun. And we'll be announcing the winners when it's all over in 37 odd days. I think I've coincided it to time with the beginning of December, so something like that. You can find it by going to wpbuilds.com/awards. wpbuilds.com/awards, and it's raising money for Big Orange Heart. Okay, last plug for me, and apologies, this will end that bit. I'm doing a show tomorrow, a live show about this time. It's going to be 3 p.m. UK time. It's with Peach and Eri, and we do the UI UX show. Try to do it each month, and this month we're on schedule. It should be happening. And we're going to take some user-submitted sites. If you fancy submitting a site which you're kind of 3/4 of the way through or nearly finished and you just want her eyeballs all over it, then go to wpbuilds.com/UI, fill out the form. And also we're interested in deceptive designs as well. Have you got any of those?
Which is ironic, you saying if you want her eyeballs over it, because if you scroll up, you don't actually see her eyes.
Hang on, wait. No, I don't want to resize the browser screen, because if I do that, all of the tabs go crazy. But if I resize, that was good. That was good. Also, next to her, it says geeks in great big letters. Look at that.
But that's good. That's good.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the promotional bit for WP Builds. Forgive me for that. Let's get into some WordPress proper stuff. WordPress 6.0.3, a security release, was released over the last few days. There's a whole load of information on this page. You can Google it, but I'll put the link in the show notes. There's a whole bunch you can see. There's one after another. There's probably 15 or 20 different things that have been patched or fixed, alongside the names of the people who spotted them. Sometimes the advice is, wait a day or two for an update with WordPress core, especially when it rolls over a major version. At least that's my advice, just to see what happens. But in this case, I think just click the button, update them, because, security patches are there for a good reason. Either of you two got anything to say about this, or should we just crack on?
I'm still just fascinated by this sentence. All versions since WordPress
3.7, wasn't it? Yeah.
Also updated.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible.
And given that the security issues that were patched none of them were severe, it's at least a testament WordPress wanting to provide an as safe as WordPress can be version for all the way back to 3.7.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah,
when
really
was 3.7 released?
I think like 1492 when the Americas were discovered, something like that.
So 14, 15.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Time ago. Yeah,
we're getting towards a decade. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is really backward compatibility to the max.
That's exactly what this is. Yeah.
I wonder what prevents 3.6 from being updated. What is it that happened between 6 and 7 that means that
So it's been 3.7 since forever. I think they made a conscious decision that there's probably something in there that is a natural divider.
Just a line in the sand where it can't cross the Rubicon. But
it's been backported to 3.7 let's call it a decade now.
Yeah, almost. So anyway, if you're running multiple WordPress installs, just go and get it updated, because my experience of updating my sites, there was no problems whatsoever. So yeah, go and get that done. Okay, I just want to mention a little podcast episode I did. It was really interesting. This was on the WP Tavern website. It's with a guy called Adam Silverstein, who is a Google employee. He works with the performance team, I believe it is, and he's a developer relations engineer in the content ecosystem team at Google. But he spoke to me all about images, and I kind of just think images on the web are just a bit magic. You drag an image off your desktop and shove it in the media library, and boom, there it is on the screen. But of course, there's a whole load of stuff going on in the background. What is that image made up of? Basically, it's just a bunch of random text. If you actually see the stuff that an image is made up of, it's just like, whoa, how can that be an image? But the browser interprets it. And he talks about the history of how images came to be on the web, what images were best then and what images are best now. The long and the short is start using WebP. That was his advice. You've got really no excuses. There's a couple of variations of Safari, I think, going back a long way into the past that don't support it. Oddly, this week, I found a reason that I can't use WebP because one of the SaaS services that I use doesn't interpret WebPs. It's one of the things that pushes my my posts over to things like YouTube. It just can't cope with WebP, so I'm going to have to sort of withdraw that. But hopefully I'll get a support ticket raised with them. But yeah, it was an interesting episode. And there's a couple of formats that are coming down the wire which are going to supersede WebP. I'd never heard of JPEG XL, which, never heard of that one before. He explained why that's good, but yet at the minute is unusable. Well, not unusable, it's just don't bother because it's, browsers don't support it. And another one called AVIF as well, which there's benefits in terms of file size. So anything you two gents want to comment on there?
Adam's on the money. There's close to no reason why you wouldn't be switching to WebP.
Yeah.
Which is why it's been slated to be incorporated in the next WordPress version. The implementation, however, is the bottleneck of why we're still not seeing it. But it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. His takeaway was basically WebP typically over JPEG is about a 20% reduction. Obviously, your usage may vary. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. But and it's now supported by 98% of all devices and different browsers. So you really, unless you're me.
I think that's a slightly skewed percentage. Mostly because you have unoptimized JPEGs, and from which you will create WebP, which is by default optimized and compressed, and all of those things. So there's a little bit more happening than just switching. But if you have 10, 15 years of a blog and lots of images, and you switch to WebP and you delete your JPEGs, I will guarantee you have a lot of more storage available to you.
Yeah.
Sadly, not all social networks can use WebP as, for example, as an image in Open Graph source or something like this. So you have to keep
your social images is probably the only reason you may want to keep a JPEG version on server, which is just still the issue why we don't have WebP by default in WordPress. The implementation itself is just...
Yeah, that's essentially the problem that I've run into. I have a service, it's called repurpose.io. It's really good, actually. And it consumes an RSS feed. Well, it can consume all sorts, but it consumes the RSS feed for this. And then it strips the audio, and then it puts the featured image on as the image on YouTube, adds a little sort of wavy line because apparently YouTube like images to be moving on YouTube, especially if it's like an hour long. And then it pushes it to YouTube so that I don't have to do all of that stuff. But they're refusing. YouTube just decline the whole thing because it's got a WebP image and they can't apparently cope with it over there. So yeah, there you go. Anyway, good little podcast episode. Really enjoyed chatting to Adam. And obviously, there's definite consequences. You'll have a smaller server bill, and hopefully things will be a little bit quicker. All righty, that's good. All right, let's move on to the next piece, which is this one. All right, this is going to be the big one for the day. I think we could all go down all sorts of rabbit holes here. This is going to span 3 different news stories. The first one is WP Tavern. It was a couple of days ago, October the 20th. The piece is called Discussion on Replacing Plugin Active Install Growth Data. continues behind closed doors. We've alluded to this drama a little bit, and then we're going to follow it up with two other pieces, one from Alex Denning on Get Ellipsis, and then another one by Matt Cromwell. We had a tiny little chat before we pressed record over here, and we've got some opinions, I think, to share. The first one is that a few weeks ago, I'm going to say 3 weeks, it might have been a little bit more, suddenly some data disappeared from the WordPress.org repository. It was data which was available to plugin developers who had their plugins on the repo, and it gave them some indication as to whether or not their plugin was gaining in popularity or declining in popularity. I have never seen that data, so I don't know how useful it was, but the mere fact that it went away instantaneously without any consultation got a lot of people up in arms. The immediate conspiracy theories started to swirl, saying that, there's definitely malicious intent here. The story then morphed over a few days, and people were saying, actually, it's probably done for security reasons, which now appears not to be the case. It was just done, essentially. Sarah Gooding's basically writing, no, they just pulled it because they believed that the statistics were not meaningful. They couldn't be used in a way that was meaningful because they were inherently inaccurate. Given that fact, I guess you've got to sort of ask yourself, if you've been using that data over the last 3, 4, 5 years, and it's been important to you, where does that leave you? If you suddenly find out that everything that you thought was true in that data is possibly not quite as true, this may be a bit of a cause for concern. And I'm going to hand it over at that point. What's your thoughts on this?
I think something being pulled because data is not what it's supposed to. Well, the data is not reflecting what it's supposed to reflect. I think that makes all the sense in the world. I think the actual issue that we're looking at here is that this is not being communicated. This is all but done internally. Lots of it has happened in closed DMs, and I'm sure there's reasons for that. But if we're open source and we are a proponent of transparency as one of the key things, then this is a bad move. And not from a technical perspective, because I fully agree with if data is producing crap statistics, then your data needs to be produced in a different and better way. If you need a lot of time to figure that out, then by all means, just get rid of it. Start anew and figure it out proper, but not communicating about this and then acting as if your nose bleeds and there's like, okay, whatever, I need to maybe just fix this and we'll just see how it goes. That's really not good politics, not good ethics, and not good working manners. If we have to guess in 3 different directions of where the problem was originating from, why this was happening, that's just, for lack of a better word, horseshit.
Yeah. So the issue that you're highlighting is just communication really was a bit. Well, there wasn't any communication.
There was none. There was none.
No.
Yeah. And even upon assisting, different things were suggested, hinted, left between the lines, whatever. We just didn't know.
Sorry, go on, Remkus, carry on.
No, I was going to say that is for me the issue. I fully agree that if it's crap that you're having presented, and people are basing business takeovers and all that based on that data, I can see how that becomes from feeling guilty about it to wanting to fix it, moving and to the point where you go, okay, I need to get rid of it. I fully understand that. But the whole thing is we're not a small economy anymore.
Ooh, good point. Yeah, that's true. Maciek, anything to throw in the hat there?
Yeah, first of all, I fully agree with Remkus about the communication. It was disastrous. It was just disastrous. I mean, living it for 3 weeks until the moment when we learned that the data was wrong. It's horrible. On the other hand, we already had hints before that the data from this source isn't reliable. I remember reading some time ago, about 2 months, on post status, there was a history of one developer who saw how at some point all his data from the repository changed because they were trying to fix it at some point. So I kind of also don't understand why it wasn't communicated for a longer amount of time about how this data is it's just bad, just like this.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
mean, the problem that I also have with this is, why, if we already knew that this data was bad, why we didn't hide it like months or even years ago? Because we can find that people had some doubts about this.
So
So
I think that part is explanatory, because if data is there, it's being used, and it was at the time as accurate as they could make it. And I can see how that grows over years of usage. You find it hard to just yank it. I get that part, but you have to interject yourself there if you want to go from fully available to yanking it. You have to interject yourself there into, okay, hold on, there's people actually depending on this being there. I need to do my due diligence. I need to start telling people, look, it is inaccurate. This is why we're getting rid of it. Here's a 3-month period. We're going to start preparing removing it, while in the background working on whatever. You just tell them what you're going to do. It's not rocket science. It's not hard. Just bloody do it.
One notable voice in the piece that Sarah mentions is Amber Hines, who's been on the podcast, this show before. Oh, and the podcast as well, actually. And she is trying to grow a plugin at the moment, and so obviously this data was probably a bit of a linchpin as to what she was doing. And she said, to quote, "I cannot emphasize enough that conversations about what was to replace the active growth chart should be happening in a public Slack channel or a track ticket. This data should belong to the community, and the community should be able to participate in deciding how or not to display it." So the story's now sort of moved on, and we're talking a little bit about maybe a silver lining to this cloud. That is to say, well, if it's gone, what is a replacement going to look like? And so now we have a new drama, which feels like, okay, please tell us what's going to be in this. Don't just invent it in closed Slack channels. Let us know. Let us have our thoughts about it. And she goes into great detail about the different things that she would like to see in a replacement set of metrics. And then Vito Peleg offers some other alternatives as well. And, they're very much in line with what you would expect, I don't know, maybe a third-party proprietary marketplace to have available as data.
Yeah. So I think the problem here is that I think the perspective is here, we can't disclose this, because if people know the actual internal workings, they could probably gamify whatever they were doing already in a much better fashion. I think that's the fear behind it. But that's not to say that you can't be open about the process, right? That it doesn't have to be all cloak and dagger, because that's what it looks like now.
Yeah, it does a little bit, doesn't it? It does take on that sort of spectre of things are just being done in the dark, and nobody had the expectation 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, whatever it was, that any of this was going on in the dark. We'll have to see how this story develops over the days, weeks, and months to come. But the hope is, towards the end of the article, the hope is that we'll get much more fine-grained data off the back of this. At the moment, or rather previously, the data was the stretch between one, how many installs you had and where you were trying to get to. When you get up to the size of something like Yoast, really the sky was the limit. You can't really go anywhere else. You've got more than 500,000 or 1 million or whatever it might be. That's the end of where the statistics allowed you to see. But in the future, maybe we'll have more granular. The idea, you can probably see it on the screen here, maybe we'll get as many as increments of 10 installs or 50 or whatever it might be. Maybe that's going to be a little bit more useful to people.
I think
I'll
so.
move this. Sorry, yeah. So let's be sanguine about it. Let's hope so. But as Amber says, it would be nice to see this. out in the open. For more information and some commentary on it, there were 3 interesting comments. Go to WP Tavern and search for the post, which, like I said, was entitled "Discussion on Replacing Plugin Active Install Growth Data Continues Behind Closed Doors." But leading on from that, let's let the drama continue. Over on Get Ellipsis, we have so we've got 2 pieces. One is contradictory of the other, but this first piece is Alex Denning from Get Ellipsis. It's called WordPress.org is ineffective for plugin distribution in 2020, and he cites at the beginning this data that we've just been talking about. Then he goes on to develop why he thinks that in the future, if you're beginning your journey in WordPress plugin development, he thinks that really there is no place for your product to have a free version on WordPress.org. I hope I'm not overstating it, but I think that's essentially his argument. Don't bother. Just have a paid version. You know, if it was always going to be free, well, then of course that's fine. But if you intend to have a paid tier and a free tier, his contention is don't bother having the free tier on .org because it's a waste of your time. He makes the sorry, you. Can I finish that? Yeah, and then clearly you want to get in. Yeah, I can see there's sweat building up on your forehead. Yeah, that's right. And now with your beautiful new camera, we can see.
I know.
Yeah. So he's essentially saying that, you know, not only do you not really have this data anymore, but also the ability, and he says very clearly, it's quite common to only convert 1 to 2% of your WordPress.org repository users. And if that's the case, maybe you'd be better off spending the time that you are, I don't know, supporting that version and replying to support tickets and so on. Maybe you'd be better off spending that money on things like Facebook or Google Ads or what have you. He's also saying that in the recent past, since 2016 in particular, it looks like the big WordPress plugins are sort of continuing to dominate. So your voice is likely to be drowned out by the incumbents already, although there's obviously some notable exceptions to that. And that's kind of it, really. He's saying stay away. And at this point, I'm going to light the blue touch paper and walk away and give it to Remkus.
Yeah, so I think, like all information, you need to be curious where it comes from. And as much as I appreciate Alex, I really do, I'm calling humbug. Because consider Alex's bread and butter is working in marketing, helping WordPress related and possibly outside companies in better copy and better conversion on their product pages and stuff. It makes a lot of sense to have this standpoint from Alex's perspective. Because I think it's also one of the other articles you have highlighted for us to discuss is the article Matt Cromwell wrote, which very eloquently, without saying that was bullshit, is saying that is bullshit. Because Matt gives a very fine case of essentially anything Alex claims as to be this is why and this is what, Matt sort of denounces it and says, no, hold on. I love Alex Denning, but he's very wrong, is pretty much my take on this as well. That is not to say that a lot of stuff has changed over the years. Does it mean it's possibly harder for certain things? Yes, but we must not forget that the maturity of the market and the saturation combined also means we have a very different WordPress ecosphere than we did 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 15 years ago. So I think the relation between this and that is as where Alex tries to make it a logical one. It's a causation. I think it's correlation. Because for whatever example Alex comes up with, there's plenty of examples where it still does work. I've seen people share examples of plugins in the very recently, only 1,000, couple of thousand, and still are making very good conversions in much higher percentages than what he's claiming. So,
Yeah.
I guess that was my hot and bothered take on it. But
yeah, that's okay. So just before I drop Maciek into the conversation, I'll just mention that this piece, which is a complete rebuttal, it isn't a piece which you can sort of have as a standalone. He is essentially pointing to Alex's article and saying, "Look, I don't agree with it." So this is Matt Cromwell, who wrote this a few days after the Get Ellipsis piece by Alex, and his post is entitled "The Case for the Case for WordPress Plugin Freemium Model." So they stand on opposite sides of the bridge. He's saying, "Yeah, totally, it's still worth it. It really is worth it." And he takes Alex's article piece by piece and tries to sort of display why, in his case, that has not been the case. It's still worth doing. Let me just boil it down. A couple of things. Firstly, the optimization in terms of sort of SEO, if you can use that word, because the WordPress repository really isn't a search engine in the way that Google is. Google can pretty much figure out what you're intending to say, even if you don't specifically type in the correct words. It can get a feel for it and serve you that up. Not the case for the repo. In fact, Max says he's looked at the code for the search function on the repo, and it's very deterministic. So, for example, things like the name of your plugin is important. The things that you add as the description text is important. And so it is possible to sort of to have the long tail. And he makes the point that his plugin, GiveWP, still is out-competed by some of his rivals that are significantly smaller, given a different set of keywords. Now, Google probably wouldn't make that mistake. It's more sophisticated. It knows what's going on. So there's that. But he also makes the point, and I suppose this is the critical piece, is he thinks that 1 to 2% conversion from free on the repo over to paid, he says essentially that's grossly well, that's not the right word, underestimating, let's go for that. And he points to figures more like 10 to 17%, I think, was the sort of boundaries that he put on there. And if that's the case, then if you can convert 10% of a growing and swelling free user base, that's probably worth doing. The article goes into all sorts of other claims and counterclaims and so on, but it's just interesting. Two completely different interpretations of whether the repo's fit for purpose or not. And I would, just before I hand it to Maciek, I'm going to raise this comment by Max, which kind of, I think, sums it up quite nicely. Getting a product in front of the right audience within the WordPress repo is quite a challenge. Fair enough. It's not sales orientated for obvious reasons. And here's the phrase: it's truly just a repository. It's not a store. And I think that kind of feels about the right tenor for me. So it's a place where you just put things. Marketing probably wasn't thought of when the store was invented. Maybe we now would like it to be more like a marketplace, but at the minute, it's not. No proper listings, he says, no categorization, and compare it to Shopify, for example. So, Maciek, sorry.
You can't.
Yeah. I've frozen Maciek out of this conversation so far. I'm sorry for that, Maciek. I'm giving you the floor. You go for it.
No problem. Especially that the comments you just pointed out are really interesting, especially the second one. I mean, let's be honest, the repository is a bit behind. It's a bit behind when it comes to... Yeah, I mean, it became just a repository, and it looks like everything everything else is on the developers, on the creators, and so it makes a bit harder to use it for any marketing reasons at all. On the other hand, I think that the truth between those two articles is a bit somewhere in between. I mean, for example, we had cases from one of the, for example, Leslie's newsletter glue. They removed the plugin from the repository because in their case it was more of a problem rather than a way to have new client. Because from what I remember, their number of conversions was a bit closer to what Alex was saying. So So again, I think that the repository is huge. It's huge, and without the proper data, which we don't have about like from everyone, how many people convert, it's really hard to tell. I think that both of them, so Alex and Matt, are guessing on some subsets which they know already. For example, I know that Matt is for sure guessing mostly for Give WP and everything related to it.
Of course. Yeah.
I'm not sure what was the subset that Alex was using, but in general, and here we should go a bit to the article before about the repository data. Of course, it doesn't have a possibility to update plugins to a paid model right now. But maybe it's time to do something with the repository. So
I think as long as Matt is in power, that's not happening.
I know, but the interesting part is that it's all possible on, I don't know, WordPress.com, on WordPress.
But those are all commercial entities. So the comparison with Shopify that was made earlier is the same thing. Shopify is entirely fully commercial. There's no open source component as such. In fact, I think if you're being honest, there is really nothing we can compare WordPress to in terms of size, in terms of what's going on inside an open source community where there is, from the start, never has been an incentive to commercialize its extendability, the plugins. Themes, same thing. I think the only muddied water here is its recommendation of hosting, but other than that, there has never been any commercial incentive to have a marketplace, because for those who didn't want to trust on .org, they jumped onto whatever Envato was doing.
.com. And here comes a bit of a muddy water again.
Yeah. No, but still, if you want to have your stuff promoted by Jetpack, Automatic, or WordPress.com, whatever you want to call that entity, you can. But that doesn't mean that we should have a commercial entity integrated into what is essentially exactly what it said, a repository. That's it. We just happen to have the ability to add text to it, which allows us to write copy that can convert.
I feel that this is a problem which I imagine won't be solved, possibly even in our lifetime. And I don't just mean WordPress. I mean this whole marketplace thing, because you really are you are putting two opposing forces against each other, and neither of them want to give any ground. So the closest example I can come up with, which is not open source truly in the sense of the word, is Android on my phone, where Google have the marketplace. It really is a for-profit enterprise.
Yeah.
It does give me the results that I want. There's a bunch of free stuff in there, and I know that every time I'm going to install something for free, I am going to be inundated with ads that I despise.
Yeah.
And so there is the option to typically upgrade or buy a paid version of the same thing, and it lists those things side by side. But there's a bit of me which I would really dislike that model, because I do love the fact that if I dip into the repository, I know that everything that I see there is free. Sure enough, there might be things that I'm going to be upsold on, but at least I know that this portion is for free. But equally, talking about Alex's piece, let's assume for a minute that he's got some accurate data based upon the research that he's done, that there are companies that are really struggling, wasting their energy and their time in there. Yeah, I can sort of see it from both sides.
I think it's a can of worms.
Yeah.
That is probably not a can of worms, but a drum of worms.
Yeah. Let's have a look. There's a couple of comments coming. I do apologize, whoever you are, Facebook user. We can't see your name. If you want to scroll up in Facebook to the post at the top, there's a link that you can click and it will de-anonymize you if you wish to do that. But you say, whoever you are, unlike WP, Shopify is not hobbled by a lack of cohesive top-down commercialized organization. I'm going to have to think about what this comment means. Right. Unlike WP, Shopify is not hobbled by a lack of cohesive top-down commercialized organization. In fact, WP has a liberal conflict between Automatic and the software authors and vendors. This makes things even more difficult to compare with Shopify. Okay, yes, I think I understand that, and I think I agree with it. Like Remkus said, Shopify is a business, pure and simple.
Started as a business.
Right. It's there to serve its customers so long as they pay. Simple as that. It's Spencer Foreman. Thank you, Spencer. And from just down the road from me, living in sunny Bridlington, we've got Elliot Sowersby. Having a free version of one of my plugins on the repo has been amazing for me. Oh, right. That's interesting. A huge amount of pro conversions I get come from that. Elliot, if you're feeling fruity and you want to give us some statistics on that, just give us a ballpark figure. You know, are we in like the 5%, 10%, 30%? How has that worked for you? But that's interesting because that you're more on the Matt Cromwell side than you are on the Alex Denning side. You think there's a completely worthwhile trajectory in sticking your product on the WordPress repo. That's amazing. Okay, great. I don't think we're going to solve this, but I do hope that
we
most
certainly aren't.
But, no, not you and I or Maciek today. But it's an interesting story. Two completely conflicting opinions. They're both being quite polite about each other. So yeah,
it's too entangled.
Yeah. What do you think about the idea of a takeover marketplace? So we have things like, I don't know, Freemius and various other companies like not Code Canyon. What is that? Envato, the umbrella thing. That seems to be sort of collapsing a little bit around. It doesn't seem to be as popular as it once was.
I think it's popular, but I think it's less visible.
Right.
I don't actually know the data in terms of what their revenue is doing, but there's. So I've onboarded quite a few sites in the last couple of months since being back on the market. Quite a few of those have Envato products. And the sad part is that automatically means there's a lot of room for improvement because I think the quality of performance is crap.
Right.
But my conclusion, at least, and this is of course just my sample, but my conclusion is that there's a very large contingent of WordPress, and I'll start very carefully expressing how that group is called, starting from the configurators to the semi-developers, right? That whole, and there's agencies with what I've learned in the 20-25 people doing exactly that, turnaround websites that are just relatively low cost. Default templates, set that whole thing up, and that market is pretty much entirely what Envato is servicing.
Right.
I suspect a large portion has moved also to the site builders, Beaver Builder, Elementor, but I don't think that market is dying just yet. I think it's different.
I would imagine that if you're let's take an example of if you want to come into and Matt makes this example. No, it might be Alex. I can't remember. But somebody makes the point that if you're bringing a forms plugin to the marketplace, then maybe that skews the whole conversation a little bit because you are going to be up against giant incumbents. You know, you've got WP Form and Gravity Forms, although I don't believe they've got a free version in the repository.
No.
But you get the point. You know, there's already a ton of plugins that consume that space. Same could be said of SEO and various other things. But maybe if you've got a little niche one, which I believe Elliot, who made the comment earlier, I believe his is a little bit more niche. I think it's an extension to WooCommerce to do with discount coupon codes and things like that. It's a little bit more niche. You can probably carve out the SEO on that a little bit better.
So that's, I think, where the growth still is. So if we're winding the clock back to 10 years ago, right, and you have a plugin, the chances are that whatever you have as an idea doesn't actually exist as a plugin. That's one. And the second is that it becomes a lot easier to use an existing platform to distribute, because a lot of the facilities of versioning and deploying it's already there. Just use the repository, it works. And if you have that niche, which is your pro option as well, you have a lot more possibility. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, but in the last 5 years ago, it's become, very saturated. I think we're up close to 60,000 plugins now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, and that's not even counting all the things on Envato, on WooCommerce.com, and all the satellite companies servicing there. I think this is partly also an entrepreneurial thing, because if you saw the chances then, you'll have to see different chances now. It's just not the same playing field anymore.
I can't speak for the accuracy of this chart. I'm just going to assume that that Alex has got the accuracy right, but this is quite an interesting chart which reveals the number of plugins in the marketplace over time. So you go back to 2018, it really does look like there's, I don't know, maybe 3,000 or 4,000 or something. And obviously that it just builds more or less a straight line going up until we get to about, let's say, about 55, 56,000, something like that, 2017. And then a real plateauing over the last
literally
5
years ago.
Yeah, 5 years ago, it plateaued. It went up very little between 2017 and 19, and then a little bit of a rise, more of the trajectory of the early days over the last couple of years. But then this year, very much plateauing again, rising steadily, nonetheless, but plateauing out. And so, yeah, maybe this plays into it as well, But 60,000 plugins to compete against. It would be nice. Would be nice to have, like Max said in the comments, the ability to, I don't know, have greater search capabilities, searching, categorizing, filtering, tagging, and so on and so forth. That would be quite nice. Okay, here we go. Look at this. Thank you. You're very kind, Elliot. 15 to 20%. Boy, that's great. 15 to 20% of websites actively using the free version upgrade on average, and over 75% of my total pro conversions come directly from the free version. Okay, if it was Elliot versus Alex, then you can't really argue with that, Elliot, can you? That's great.
So Elliot most likely has two things figured out very, very correctly. One is, what is the break between free and pro?
Yeah.
Right. So that has to be done absolutely correct. And the second is he's getting 25% of conversions still happening not through the free version. So his SEO and most likely his product landing page and funnel is working.
It's the 1-2 punch. He's doing it from both sides and getting
it
right.
And doing it correctly.
Yeah. Okay, so that's interesting. So there's a way out of this dilemma, and that is do the repo and do the SEO.
But it should have always been that.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so let's see where this conversation goes over the next few weeks. It was certainly an interesting little chat. Thank you, guys. That was great. I enjoyed that. Let's move on a little bit. The next one it's a community piece, and it is to say that an event is happening fairly soon, 18th of October. It's the return. I don't know how many times we've done this now. I think it might be the 4th or something. Michelle Frechette, who's in the comments, I'm sure she can steer us in the right direction. WordFest Live is coming back on the 18th of November. So what is that? A little over 3 weeks, something like that from now. This page that you're looking at, if you're watching it, ignore the fact that it says register to speak. I believe that's finished long ago. This is just me essentially saying that it's coming. Stick it in the diary. It's a 24-hour event. It's pretty mind-boggling the amount of wrangling that goes on in the background to make this event happen. I can tell you, having looked at it a little bit from the inside, they really do spend a great deal of time finessing this event. It's one of the best. I'd stick it in your diary. November the 18th, WordFest Live. Maciek, you said did you apply successfully or
no? I missed the date by a month.
Okay.
I mean, for some reason, I always have a problem with translating August into Polish. It's one of those things. And,
oh, really? Oh, no.
Yeah. It happens, and discuss that. I was sure that I have 1 month extra, And I even started entering all the data, and I was like, oh no. Okay, next time.
Is August in Polish not translated to the Augustus Emperor? Is that what's happening, or?
No, August is in Polish, and here we go again. I mean, it's all because June and July. For some reason, I always thought that those are the vacation months, and this causes the problem.
Oh,
with the
I
next
see.
Month,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, in Polish, August is sierpień.
Okay. Right. So Michelle Frichet ever so helpfully dropped into the comments the schedule will be posted tonight. So all the speakers and everything, that's all been wrangled. Later on today, you're going to be able to get the schedule and you can stick it in your diary and attend. Completely free, totally live, fab. Right. What have we got here? Another thing to mention, it's a community piece. There's probably not a lot to say about this. It's another event, if you like. WordPress documentation team to host its first online contributor day. If you've ever been to a WordCamp or a sizable WordCamp, they often bolt on the beginning or the end a contributor day where people sit down and try to help promote the project as a whole. And documentation is one of those things that I think probably if you've ever had a product or a service, it's so easy not to do the documentation. Focus on the product and then forget all of the documentation. Seems it's the way for WordPress as well. But there's going to be a day, an online day, 25th of October. So basically, it's tomorrow. And if you fancy getting involved, you can go to this article on WP Tavern and check it out. Hopefully, you'll be able to attend. So there we go. Alrighty. Next one, Jetpack. Do we want to talk about Jetpack? Shall we talk about Jetpack? Let's talk about Jetpack ever so quickly. Really? Social plugin on Jetpack. We use this on the Tavern, although I don't know if it's the free version or the paid version. There's this social thing which you can promote, you can push to different organizations, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and so on and so forth. And up until now, my understanding is if you had the paid version, you got an unlimited amount of that. Well, they've got on the free version now a limit of only 30. I probably said that the wrong way around a moment ago. There's a limit on 30 shares. And so if you were using a free version previously, you probably were allowed to do this. You could publish dozens of articles a month and get them pushed to all the networks. Now, let's say you're pushing to 3 organizations. Each one of those counts as one token, if you like. So you're only going to be able to post 10 things. For me, that would be fine. But if you're a larger organization and produce a lot of content, this could be a bit of a problem. It's going to be $10 a month if you want to step up. And for that, you get 1,000. So it's gone from unlimited to 1,000 at $10 a month. And Remkus, you were making the point before we started that there's a ton of services that do this kind of stuff anyway, right?
Well, there's plenty of ways around having Jetpack take care of this for starters, but I think the more interesting story actually is a different one. Why would Jetpack pick this particular extension, which is on the decline and has been for years, social sharing? Why would they pick this one to monetize?
Yeah, it's interesting, right?
That makes zero sense from my perspective, and I'm sure I'm sure they have their reasons for it, and I'm sure they have logic that justifies their decision. But monetization of Jetpack has baffled me for how long has Jetpack been there?
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, lots and lots of years.
Probably well over a decade.
Yeah.
I've had discussions with people part of the management of Jetpack, team leads, decision makers, and none of them could answer me in any straightforward way. Not that they weren't willing to, just there was just no. Yeah, we'll see, and maybe, and we haven't decided, and this has been going on for years. And now this, I go.
You couldn't determine the direction of travel. It's you make an interesting point about social sharing. I mean, I don't know the data on that. I haven't read any data which says definitively it's declining. But I have stopped doing it.
Yeah, so I maintain a few sites that are high traffic, it's I just have to look into a specific Google Analytics filter, and it's clear as day. It's rarely being used, and if anything, it's mostly shared to WhatsApp. It's not even Twitter. It's not even Facebook anymore. Because if you share it on Facebook, nobody's going to see it anyway. So why bother?
Yeah.
Twitter for certain communities has some sense, but no, it's there's ways around this. There's, I think, much better solutions, and it's just a weird one to pick to monetize.
Yeah, that's interesting. Maciek, you're nodding away.
Yeah,
there.
I totally agree. I mean, and especially when we look at it, it's really so easy to find a free alternative that will just work. So
they're trying to reel people in. Jetpack's offering this for $1 for the first month. So, and then thereafter, it's going to be $10 a month. It does feel like quite a bit of money in order to do something, which is, like you said,
I wouldn't use it if it was free and they were sending me money after.
Do you know what though? You're
totally
right
here
about
with Remkus.
Yeah, you're right about the sort of social thing. In my sphere, I share things that are to do with this channel, but that's it. I don't really typically share anything outside of that. So, long gone are the days where I'm sharing, here's my plate of food that I'm going to consume this evening. I'm not really kind of into that. But that felt like that was a thing for a while with social networks. And I just think Twitter, which I've tried to use a little bit more recently.
I saw.
Well, I mean, it's baffling to me because I go away for like 40 seconds and I come back and all of a sudden everything which I thought, that'll be interesting, I'll follow up on that. That looks really, it's gone. It's it's down there somewhere. It all happened so fast. And my little tiny brain that's not interested in really clicking at that moment, I just let it scroll past and then I can't be bothered to go back. So I think it's maybe a victim of its own success. There's all of these things. There's too much noise, essentially, for me.
So I think with all social media, you have to configure it to your liking. You have to use the tools to make it digestible.
Yep.
Twitter is a great example of it. Facebook is unusable whichever way you use it. Instagram is getting there as well, unusable. If you understand the algorithm, you can have it work for you.
Yeah. The way that I like to use social media, for me, that is what I mean by that is that so that it works for me, putting stuff out, is to build a community. So that the hope would be that if you put something out on Twitter, because you haven't put out 15 pictures of what you had for your meal last night, that people will respond, or at least the algorithm will put what you're doing out there because you're kind of reliable and you've been, a good custodian for a while. But I don't know if that's the case. I have no metrics on that. No. Okay, I'm going to give up in that case. Right, and there we go.
Don't. It's fun playing with you.
No, you're right. No, I'm not going to give up. I love all this stuff. Whether or not it gets to 1 million people or 17, I don't really mind. Okay, all right. Let's move on. Let's share the screen again. Anyway, that was Jetpack. You have to pay $10 a month to share things from now on. Right, this is just 3 very quick little things. I think I'm going to do this a little bit more on this show. I haven't really done this in the past. It's just a quick whiz through of 3 plugins that I saw this week, either on email or Twitter or whatever it might be, who've got an update that I thought was nice to see. Publish Press. I met Steve Burge, who is the creator of Publish Press, at WordCamp US the other day. And isn't it amazing how a little tiny personal interaction can make you sort of very favorable towards a product? Because that's the case for Publish Press. I really now want it to succeed incredibly well because I've met Steve and realized what a charming fellow he is. They've got version 3, which they've come out with recently. They've got a lovely new dashboard. They've got some more block permissions and they've got some new block styles as well. So if you're a Publish Press user, big update over there. See what I mean? It's going to be brief, this. Fluent CRM has had a version tick over to 2.6. And honestly, this article's so long, I can't really go into all the bits and pieces. But it can be boiled down to new automation and new filtering features. But if you're using Fluent CRM, which was on a lifetime deal a couple of years back, I think a lot of people bought it. They've got a new offer, 2.6. And lastly, as I mentioned, Ben Intel from Stackable. He's in the Philippines, putting his kids to bed, he said. They've got a new block available for their Stackable users. 2, in fact. They've got maybe it's 1 block. It's a progress circle and progress bar blocks. You know, the kind of thing. You want somebody to get the idea that 75% of people have installed things, or, you know, we've got 3,000 users, whatever it may be. You've now got a block for that. So I'm not going to dwell on that, but there we go. That's 3 little updates. Okay, sorry, I've got some more self-promotion. I apologize. This should have come at the beginning, and some reason the tabs come in at the end, but there we go. If you're into Black Friday deals, we do our darndest to get a lot of them onto one page. It's at the incredibly difficult to remember URL, wpbuilds.com/black. Let me say it again, wpbuilds.com/black. Go bookmark it. Just to be honest, quite a few of the links in here will be affiliate links. If there isn't an affiliate link, we don't use it. If there is, we do. And there's some sponsored slots, WS Form, GoDaddy Pro, and Gravity Forms. They've stuck their products at the top. If you want to do that, click this little Find Out More button. There's 4 little slots available down here. But if you've got a product that you want to shove on this page, click that button, add your deal, and we will stick it on there. You don't have, it's free. You don't have to give us anything.
Random. Can I say something random?
Yeah, please.
I just absolutely love Gravity Forms.
Oh, look, there they are. And they came right in as a big sponsor. Tell me why you love Gravity Forms. That's obviously triggered you, hasn't it?
So I've used Gravity Forms as one of the very first 1,000 users, right?
Oh.
So I'm grandfathered in, so I have that privilege. But it's a plugin that continues to amaze me, and in how it grows, what you could do with it, and how many satellite businesses it has allowed to grow within its platform. Hats off to Carl and the team. I think that is an absolutely wonderful example of how you can coexist with someone that is building something on top of your platform. Gravity Wiz is a good example of which is not Gravity Forms, but they have extensions to Gravity Forms add-ons, which make the whole experience just so much more versatile. And there's more, but just shout out to Gravity Forms.
What else is there? There's Gravity Perks, there's Gravity View, there's Gravity Wiz. There's a whole ecosystem of things just built on top of that. Yeah, that's a good point. Just in fairness, I do want to just mention this as well. In the form space, just so there's equanimity, we do also have as a sponsor WS Form, which is a bloomin' cool version. Mark Westgard was on just last week, I think, as well. So just even in the balance, but that's nice to hear. It's always nice to hear when somebody loves your product. Anyway, there it is. If you fancy putting your product on there, go for it. A deal came across my horizon this week. I've no idea. I've never used this. I can't say whether it's good or bad, but it's an AppSumo thing. Lifetime deal on a product called WP Reset. I know a couple of people who bought it, and they seem to be fairly favorable. Anyway, it's back on. I think it's $50 or something for a lifetime deal. And the intention is it resets your WordPress install back to a period in time. So I guess it's a bit like Time Machine or something for your WordPress install. Okay.
Git versioning?
I don't know.
It's more for... I mean, I played around with it for some time, so you can. It's really great for developers if you want to create a. You don't want to reinstall your WordPress to the blank state, but for example, you want to automatically have clean WordPress with some things added, and you want to reset it every time to the same state.
So I see. Right. So like you've got a site, you've been playing with it, it's a playground, and you now realize you've gone down the wrong rabbit hole, and you just want all the plugins and all of that still.
Get me back.
Yeah. So take me back to when I started. Yeah. Before I had the beer and carried on maintaining the website. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, there it is. It's $50 or something. Thank you, Maciek. That's really helpful. We mentioned this last week, but I want to keep mentioning this because this is a lovely little service. It's called WP Turbo. We haven't gone into detail about it, but it just looks like a really cool little project. Totally free. My understanding is that they're going to have sort of a paid tier built on top of this. but it's in beta at the moment, and it's got a ton of WordPress generators. So, for example, this is like, I feel this is for people who've been using a page builder for ages and have no conception of how WordPress does things under the hood. You've just clicked buttons forever, and it just worked. But you're a bit curious. You want to know how WordPress actually does these things and how you can do things in code and maybe make your website a little bit leaner and just have the fun of fiddling with things and learning things. So let's take the example here, post type generator. You click on the button, and you've got a ton of options for how you might register that post type. You give it a name. You can design what kind of post type it's going to be, give it labels, look at all these labels that you can add, what kind of things it supports. So does it support comments, featured image, author, and so on? You can toggle them on and off. What taxonomies are you going to use, where it's going to be visible? You get the idea, blah, blah, blah. And it's all done through a text-based, form-based approach. And at the end, you get the code at the bottom, you copy and paste it, and you're done. It's great. I really like it. And that was just the post type generator. I think there's 40 more. Let's have a look. You can browse down here.
Looks like a more elaborate version of generatewp.com, which I've been using for since they started.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just one of those things that you could commit all that stuff to memory. And it, for me at least, now that I'm the age that I am, like there's no way. There's no way.
No, neither do I. I just know where to go to quickly generate that. But,
so you've got a whole bunch of stuff for WordPress generators. Then you've got a whole bunch of stuff for admin, a whole bunch of stuff for query generators. That would be kind of interesting. Creating a block is possible, I believe. Plugin header, theme header, widget generator, sidebar generator. The list just goes on and on. WooCommerce, Elementor. It's just a growing resource. Like I said, free at the minute. So go and use it for all of its greatness.
Looks like they have like a lot more options than Generate WP.
Yeah, and it's just in beta. I think they sent me an email. I'm pretty sure they sent me an email, or somehow I've got the idea that they are going to have a paid tier. So get in while you can, and make use of it. It's a great idea. Loving it. Anything on that, Maciek, or shall we move on?
No, we can go further.
Okay. Right then, we've sort of approaching the end. We've got about 15 minutes left to go. This is just to say that a bit of a shake-up at iThemes, not a shake-up in the bad sense of the word, but a shake-up in a good sense of the word. They have decided to shuffle their staff around, and as we have Kathy Zant on rather a lot, I'd like to just highlight this. She's had what I'm guessing is a promotion. She is now the Director of Product Marketing for iThemes and Cadence WP. So Kathy, if you are watching, well done, bravo, congratulations. There's a whole load of other stuff in this article, but really, that's what I wanted to say. Also, if you are an iThemes user, they are going to, although they're not saying what the products are, they've got a slew of products, and they are going to be sunsetting some of them. This is, I guess, a nice term for saying they're going to stop supporting or developing. I don't know if supporting covers that. Maybe they will continue to support them. But it looks like...
Yeah, I was going to say, I like the paragraph right above that.
Which is this one?
Yeah, they'll be kicking off a discovery journey with the iThemes and Stellar WP leadership to revisit the brand identity, since iThemes really isn't about themes anymore.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Which has been, I've wondered about this very well.
Like a decade.
No, shorter. This was like 2 years ago, whenever they were added to...
Stellar.
But the umbrella of that.
I think Stellar is the umbrella of that. Hang
on. You mean the next?
The hosting.
Is it
Nexus?
Yes,
Liquid Web. Yeah. I was like, why are they still using the iThemes name? It just doesn't make sense.
It's interesting.
Other than it's been there for 14 years, but yeah.
They should get plugins.
Yeah, iPlug. If that's available, they should definitely bag it. Somebody listening to this will have already bought that just now, if it's available. Looks like they're, says here, the ongoing foundational products is where they're going to put their energies in the future. So we're probably all familiar with these. iThemes Security, Backup Body, iThemes Sync and Training. Are where they're going to put their focus in the near future. It's interesting, isn't it? Not one of those is a theme-related thing. So, maybe bit of a brand revisiting. And here we go. Michelle, Liquid Web, says Michelle.
Yeah.
So maybe all of us got that wrong. So thank you, Michelle. She knows. She's in the know over there. Okie dokie, that's that one. Right. Now, if you thought that you liked Gutenberg in your... Cover your ears, Remkus.
No. I like Gutenberg.
Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah, okay.
You're trying to turn me into grumpy old man.
Yeah, that's right. You're skeptic.
But I think that's projection, Nathan.
Yeah. Okay, I retract everything I said in the last 20 seconds. But if you like your WordPress install to have Gutenberg in it, and you think to yourself, wouldn't it be nice if Gutenberg was everywhere? Well, turns out Maciek's dug something up. It can be. Tell us about this, Maciek. We're looking at a GitHub page. It's called Gutenberg Everywhere Chrome. What are we looking at?
Yeah, I mean, you can scroll down a bit. I think there should be something in the README. Yes, there is even a beautiful example of how Stack Overflow can look like with Gutenberg, in which you can write a comment. So,
do you think any Stack Overflow... I'm not trying to be incendiary here, and I'm really not. Do you think Stack Overflow users... Do you think there's going to be too many people taking this up? Like they prefer the Gutenberg interface to the Stack Overflow
There's going
interface?
to be some hardcore developers who just... Yeah. I'll take it.
So yeah, in short, this extension can change every text area into Gutenberg, and as we can see, it will load and save content in Markdown format.
Oh, interesting.
Which is kind of sad because I prefer writing in Markdown rather than not. Still, if you are a true hardcore Gutenberg fan, it's for you.
What I like about this is that what it will allow us to do in WordPress as well. So at a certain point in time, we may have a Gutenberg-powered comment section.
Right.
And that kind of makes sense if this is how it's done.
Well, it's interesting because I know that Matt, well, I'm speaking for Matt like I know what's going on in his head, but Matt Mullenweg, my impression at least anyway, is that he would like Gutenberg to be like the editor for the web. I don't know. I don't have any insight as to whether or not that is a realistic approach.
New Tiny MC.
Right, basically. And so I suppose projects like this will be quite interesting, if people start to fiddle with it and realize it's superior. It's kind of, I'm guessing it's not very feature rich. You have to, did you say it was Markdown? So you've got to bring all of that along for the ride. You've got to understand how that works and what you're doing.
No, you don't.
You don't?
It will convert. It will convert everything from and to Markdown. So you can write as usual.
Yeah. I'm using, typically in a week, I would say I'm probably using 5 or 6 platforms, all that have their own completely unique interface. And at the minute, that doesn't really bother me. I'm using, like, for example, Google Docs. I use a bunch, and that's got an interface which I'm completely familiar with. I flip over. I use Evernote quite a lot. Maciek, I might just mute you because there was some incredibly crazy sound there coming through. So I'm going to mute you. Oh, no, it's stopped, whatever it was. So I'm not going to mute you. So I'm using Google Docs. I'm fine with that. I'm using Gutenberg. I'm fine with that. I'm using Evernote. I'm fine with that. I'm using a whole bunch of different like CRM platforms and things like that. I don't really have that problem. It doesn't really affect me. I'm quite happy to flip from one to the other. On the other hand, I guess it might be a nice aspiration to have just one editor, but I don't know. I think Google Docs is kind of superior at the minute.
Yeah, but that's because it's focused on text. So
yeah.
I mean, the question is the web want to have one editor?
Yeah.
And do we want it to be Gutenberg?
I think time will tell, but I've got a suspicion that it might not be. But let's wait and see. Anyway, thank you. That's a cool little project. So I'll put the link in the show notes, and you can go and install it. I'm guessing inside a Chrome browser. So this is going to work on Brave and Edge and a variety of other things. So yeah, if you're a Firefox user, maybe not. But I am going to do this and just see what my experience is, whether or not it kind of is a bit of a cognitive dissonance. Okay, here we go. we've got a Facebook user who is anonymized. We don't know who you are, but it says there's also this related use of Gutenberg outside. Okay, something called WordPress. So it's. Have you seen this, Maciek?
This is something amazing. It's done by Adam Zieliński, and it's WordPress that doesn't need MySQL. We can just put it everywhere as a JavaScript module, just like this.
Okay, so this is Munir. I'm guessing Munir Kamal, who really, let's be honest, knows what he's talking about when it comes to Gutenberg. So we will defer. Munir, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to be able to show it on the screen now just because of the time that we've got left available. Considering we talked about this one this week, I will put it into next week's show. And Munir, what happens with the comments on this platform? As soon as the show ends, I'm completely unable to get to the comments. If I remember, I'll go over to the comments on YouTube and copy and paste it from over there. But Munir, if you fancy,
I will send you the.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I'll just forget. I know what I'm like.
This is something really amazing. It's
okay.
Amazing. So it's worth talking about. And
oh, great. Okay, we'll do that next week. Okie dokie. We mentioned this last week, but Maciek wanted to mention it again, so we're going to. This is. Sorry, I'm on the right at the bottom of the page. WP Awards. The awards. This is not the silly version. This is the sensible version of awards.
So I can't win this one, you mean?
Well, yeah, you stand a chance, Remkus. What would you? Yeah, I mean, are you on here? The nominations have been closed. I'm going to do a quick find for Remkus.
No, I'm not.
Oh no, there's none out of none.
Not cool
but
enough.
If you search for WP builds, look at that. It's not even there. Look, that's a load of rubbish, right? But if you go right.
I can tell you that Kinsta is here.
Oh, okay. Well, look, there's a WordPress. Look, there's a podcast. Look at this. You could click that button or that one or that one. Or that
one.
I'll have to add myself there as well as the YouTube channel.
Yeah. Anyway, this is more about what you really think as opposed to the silliness that I've been running. So if you fancy voting, it's open for the next few weeks. You add your name, email address. Devinder was on last week. He's the person that's running it all. And go and give your favoured WordPress plugins, themes, communities, whatever it may be, a bit of a thumbs up. And at the end,
I'm a little sad Devinder hasn't added my YouTube channel. I'm a little sad.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Why?
Yeah.
But why?
Devinder.
Why hasn't he done that? Yes.
That's right.
Especially with. I know why. Because you didn't have your jacket on.
You didn't.
True.
There was no jacket at that time. It is.
I
the
think
jacket.
You should write to him that you have a new jacket and you want your YouTube channel.
In all honesty, there's not a lot of WordPress going on that channel yet. So
every week I try to come up with a title for the podcast, and it's the silliest sentence uttered during that, and this wins. This episode's going to be called "He Didn't Have His Jacket On," because that's perfect. Okay, 5 more minutes left. One more article. Shame. Oh, right. Look at this. Yeah, go on. Why not, Ben? Do it. Ben's saying, "Shameless plug. Vote for Stackable." Where does that feature? I'm guessing there's a blocks section. Why not
there are
give
so
him a
many
bit of
sections.
Gutenberg add-ons. Here we go. Section 5. It's got to be in here, surely. Section 5. I can't see it.
It's here.
I would have thought it would have been there.
Column.
Oh, yeah, there. Look, there you go. Stackable.
Yeah.
Ben's come in and shamelessly plugged Stackable. He wants you to win that one. So, yeah, you can vote for that if you like. I bet in a minute we're going to get some other people saying a load of rivals. So step away from the controversy. I forgot to say at the beginning of this episode or did I say it? Bob Dunn was supposed to join us, but unfortunately, where he lives, he's got a power outage, and he said he could try it on his mobile phone, but it would be terrible reception. So I'm so sorry. Bob was supposed to join us, and I do want to mention this because this is great. He threw in as his pick of the week. This is great. Oh, this is the stuff that makes life interesting. He's found a Wikipedia article which is called Unusual Articles. So it's literally a list of crazy articles on Wikipedia, and they are absolutely brilliant, mind-numbingly weird. So things like places where the gravity appears to go backwards, houses which appear to float.
I saw a pizza farm.
A pizza farm, of course.
On the top.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to make of it. Crazy places in the world which just have incredibly weird
I like this. This is my
architecture.
world.
Yeah, this one's kind of cool. It's a principality called Sealand. It's not actually a principality, but the guy. This is so good. There's a guy. He lives like in the Atlantic somewhere. There's this old platform, and he's trying to make it into a country. It's called Sealand. There's like a living room embedded in one of these little towers here.
That's
I
weird,
think he
'cause
lives
there's
all
no-
by himself. He's printed his
there's
own money and
no
also
actual land there.
yeah, there's no actual land. Hence, probably why it's called Sealand. Anyway, it is a massive list of extremely, I mean, truly massive. This is going to keep you going until the end of your days. Just looking at weird stuff there. So, hat tip to Bob Dunn for presenting us with this weirdness. I'll include it in the show
Oh,
notes.
there
if
was
you
one
fancy it.
called the Paul effect.
The Paul effect.
I just
What's
saw
the
it.
Paul effect? Hang on, let me
I don't
find
know.
that.
It's a
Paul.
Paul effect.
The Paul effect. Let's see. No, not that one. No.
There you
Paul
go.
effect. Something
Blame
something
Paul.
in the lab
I like
not
it.
working. Technical difficulties. Blame this guy.
It's Paulie. It's Paulie. I missed the I, but close enough.
Yeah, it's close enough. There you go. Okay. Quantum suicide and immortality. Schmoot. The list goes on and on. South up map orientation. Oh, look at that.
That's pretty.
Isn't that
It's so weird.
It's just a
I mean-
map turned upside down. And of course, why wouldn't it be that way around? There's nothing wrong with it, but doesn't it look weird?
Nathan, to be honest, I think that the next episode should consist only about articles from.
I'm down.
the
Yeah.
I'm down. I'm
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, nothing to do with anything normal. That's it. We've done our episode. I do appreciate.
But this
anybody who
cow on
makes
the
it.
top of the power of you saw
Oh,
the
yeah,
cow.
okay. Hold
It
on.
was-
Let me just show that because that is pretty cool. What on earth is this about? It's cow. Is that cow? What is it? It's just like a cow on a power line somewhere. That's so weird. There's a guy in the UK who has put a shark in his roof. So imagine you got a huge great white shark and you were like in a plane and you threw it at a house and it got embedded in somebody's roof. He's built that into his roof and he's even built like the debris around it so that it looks as if it's just been like moments ago shattered into his roof. There's this fin and the back end of a shark. All of his neighbors want him to get rid of it and have been protesting to the authorities that it must go. And every year he wins the next round. He's saying, I can do what I like. It's my house. I want a shark in the roof. Of course I do.
You have this is not the only weird guy you have in the UK, but this is definitely
Yeah, Google it. Google it now. Shark in roof. Oh, I've got to do it, haven't I? Hold on. Shark in roof. Right. I could just so that you know it. I'm not making it up. There it is. Look, that's a YouTube. The heading. Look. I mean, let me share it on the screen quickly.
And
that is not a joke. Look at that.
No, it is a joke. It is a joke.
No, but you know, I mean, in terms of it's like hard to miss, right?
and also I like the GIF as of the shark on the on the top of the
Oh, yeah,
website.
yeah.
It
This
also
website-
gives this.
Yeah, this website brought to you in 2001. Yeah.
Oh, I
That's
see.
great.
There are also sharks' birthday parties.
Yep.
It's-
He's got a whole
it's-
thing going on. What it demonstrates is if you do something truly wacky, you can probably milk it for the rest of your
And
life.
call it art because it's a sculptor.
That's right.
Yeah.
But look at it. It's like the size of the house itself. Anyway, what the heck are we talking about? This is supposed to be about WordPress.
I mean,
So-
why didn't we
There,
start it
there
from
are sharks
this?
within WordPress.
See what you did there. Right, we had a comment. Look at that. Marcel Boatsman manages to find the single. What are they called? Like emoji or something about sharks. Very good. You get the prize, Marcel, for best comment of the day. Appreciate anybody who made a comment. I love it. I love it when you make the comments. It makes the show so much more interesting. Thanks for showing up and contributing. It's really great. Of course, I have to say thank you to the man, the jacket, Remkus de Vries. Look at him. He's so chuffed with it. It is beautiful.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to say about you. You're not the man, the not jacket, Maciek. Thank you both for joining
Yeah,
us
I
today.
only have a lot of cats on my t-shirt.
Yeah, this is an
That's
interesting.
not it. That's not
This
it.
is an interesting. Ben says maybe he has trouble finding his house. Yeah, maybe that's it. It's like a
Problem fixed.
beacon on a drunken night home. I live in the shark house.
I hope he
I
has
live
Oh,
lighting
yeah.
on it.
yeah, let's try. My house is the shark one. Yeah. Okay, that's it. That's it. We're done. Thank you very much. We've overrun now. So, we've got a wave. Look, we've got to do
Yeah,
the
I
silly
was
wave.
already-
Thank you. And we've done it. We'll be back next week with another panel of guests, and hopefully it'll be just as ludicrous and fun. Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
Are we on again then?
Yeah, it's us again every week from now on. Same guest. See you later.